Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Dragonic Overlord Premium deck profile for July 2019. With the release of the Premium Collection 2019, I felt an update was due to the Dragonic Overlord deck for Premium format, and also the fact that we received new Overlord support in the latest booster pack for Standard, Light of Salvation, Logic of Destruction. So just overall, we've gotten a good number of Overlord strides throughout the game to assist with all the stride power that the Overlord can do, and with just the different forms of Overlord we've had in Standard format, adding support to the deck, and the fact that we've gotten the new Progenitor stride, which helps with your stride costs in the deck, and also just a very powerful Dragon Empire stride at that. I felt an update was due for Kagero in general for Dragonic Overlord, so let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So to start off with the G-Zone, I run 3 Supreme Heavenly Emperor Dragon Dragonic Overlord The Purge. It is a Vanguard. Once per turn, choose a face-down card from your G-Zone, turn it face up, and choose a card with Overlord and its card name from your hand and put it into your soul. If the number of cards in your opponent's damage zone is 4 or less, choose one of your opponent's Vanguards and deal 1 damage. And during damage check, all trigger effects are nullified. So you have the damage power of the Purge, being able to hit your opponent for some pretty strong damage, which assists for the Generation Break 3, which is this unit has the same number of drives as the number of cards in your opponent's damage. So just remember with the Generation Break 3 that you want to make sure you have your opponent at a pretty high damage if you go into this card, just because if it is lower than 3, you're going to be really losing the opportunity to have a good amount of drive checks, since it takes whatever the damage is. So if your opponent's at 1 or 2 damage, it'll have that many drive checks. But with its own skill, you should be able to hit them for some pretty strong damage at that. And I also run 2 Dragonic Overlord the Ace, just a Counterblast 2 with a discard of an Overlord and another card from your hand for a restand power with a drive -1. So just more pressure for the strides in the deck. I only run 2 of this card though, for it's most of the time just a one-of thing, and you can hit some pretty more pressure moves with the Purge if you go into this card instead. I just like having the option of this card available, since sometimes just the second attack is what's needed more against your opponent for their plays. And I also run 2 Zygenberg. This is great for the opponents you go up against that really don't call rear guards, just giving you an easy restand without having to pay any hand cost if they have no rear guards with this card. So very, very helpful for Zygenberg for that. And also I run 2 Supreme Heavenly Emperor Dragonic Blade Master Titan, with this one having the extra critical and the retire power by choosing a face down card from your G-Zone, turning it face up, and the number of rear guards as the number of face up Titans in your G-Zone. Most of the time also with this card, I just like to have it as the flip up fodder for some of my other cards, whether it be Zygenberg or the Purge in general, because also Zygenberg doesn't need to flip for its effect. It just does it for the retire cost, so you can even get one face up in the G-Zone thanks to your Purge and its own effect. And then for some of the more powerful cards, I do run 1 Zeroth Dragon of Inferno Drachma and 1 Supreme Heavenly Emperor Blazing Burst. Now, if I had Progenitor, which I sadly did not pull from the Premium Collection, I would take out the Blazing Burst Dragon and put that in along with Drachma, or you can mix and match if you want to decide which one to take out. Drachma kind of goes against Progenitor and your strides, so you might take out the Drachma and save the GB8 for that. Just remember the GB8 for this, you have to have the face up in the G-Zone to use that one's skill. And then for the Generation Guards, I run 1 Supreme Heavenly Emperor Dragonic Defeat Flare Dragon. This is the one that retires all of your opponent's rear guards in the back row by shuffling back, by placing back 2 Grade 3 Overlords from your drop zone to the bottom of your deck. And I also run 2 Denial Griffin. This card just definitely does help for retiring your opponent's rear guards that attack for a counterblast of 1. And also 1 Absalam for more power shields by having open rearguard circles with your opponent. And 1 Advance Guard helps to destroy the card that was boosting against your opponent for a Soul Blast. Some of the other ones eat up the Counter Blast, while you just use Advance Guard for your Soul. So very, very helpful there for sure as well. And that's it for the Stride Zone. Moving on now to the main part of the deck. I run 4 Dragonic Overlord the Great. Having the Imaginary Gift Force being the first power-up for sure for standard format with the deck. When also placed, you call up to 1 Dragonic Neoflame from your drop zone to a rear, and also once per turn Vanguard effect, at the end of the battle they attack. If your soul has a grade 3, you can counterblast 1, discard 2 cards from your hand, stand this unit and 1 of your Neoflame, and they get drive -1 until end of turn. So just more pressure for the restand with this card for sure. The fact that it's also Dragonic Overlord, it'll work for all your other strides if you're not ready for the Neoflame setup, or if you just want a more powerful stride hit to go forward with. And I also run 4 of the normal Dragonic Overlord from standard, just having the plus 10,000 power or the restand pressure. Most of the time when I have this card on my Vanguard is when I go for my stride, because the next turn I'll ride with the Great, having a more setup card on the field for my restand. But with Overlord, I think the risk for the restand having to hit isn't as well rewarded as just being able to go into the Purge for its own skill to use, or one of my other strides in the G zone, hitting the triple drive, which basically would give you the same number of dry checks in the deck as you would have with Overlord itself. And also, just for the higher grade 3 count, for having additional Overlords in the deck, I run 2 Dragonic Overlord, the Destiny, having the search effect when you stride over it for an Overlord card. Having a 10 count of the deck, I think, is very, very helpful for sure. And also just the Soul Blast when this unit is placed from Vanguard from hand, 1 at the beginning of your ride phase. You may pay the cost. If you do, choose any circle other than Vanguard and put all the cards from that circle into the drop zone. So that retire power also does help to take care of locked units or just pesky cards on the rearguard circle, you name it. I like it for its own skill and the stride power you can do with it. And like I said, just having the 10 count of Dragonic Overlord cards in the deck is definitely helpful as well. And then for the grade 2s, I run 4 Dragonic Neoflame, just your go-to card with the Great. I was debating if I wanted to run any Nahalms from, premium format, the boosts power up when one of your units attacks, but I decided to stick with, just the 4 Neoflames for the pressure with the Great, having a 10k ride target as well when need be, but just definitely does come in handy when Dragonic the Great can also take the name of one of your strides, having that option available to you as well with Neoflame on the field if that card is your Vanguard. And I also run still the 4 Berserk Dragon for the retire power with the deck, definitely helping for some of your G-Guards, and just the draw power on your Vanguard as well against your opponent. Definitely does come in handy. Plus the 3k power on rear for 13k attack helps when you go up against some of the higher 13k base monsters as well with the deck. And I also run 3 Dragon Full Armored Buster. This card is another searcher for Overlord, so you can hit any of your grade 3s with this card. If your opponent has no rear guards, it's also plus 3,000 power, only needing the soul as long as you have this card when you set it up on Vanguard or rear. Definitely does help as long as you have your soul set up with plenty of the other cards you run in the deck as well. And I also run 4 Flame of Hope air mode, just the countercharge power. You do counterblast quite a lot in this deck with all your different cards. So having the option for ammo to get the +3 when it boosts is a definite bonus when you're going up with the big stride numbers to hit certain numbers against your opponent. But I use it mostly for the retire, draw, and countercharge, since you do a lot of retiring in this deck, especially with the Destiny or even the Purge on your Vanguard as well. And I still run the 3 count for Embodiment of Armor Bar, just for more retire power. If you didn't have the Progenitor Dragon, which leads to a lot of good plays for your strides being free cost when you get that card out, I would consider taking this card out if you don't have that card and running just more Lava Flow Dragons, so you have stride fodder for going into your strides, since you don't really want to have to rely on your grade 3s too much when you want to use those cards for the Purge's own skill for dealing damage to your opponents. And also to finish off the grade 1s, I run 3 Sable Dragonoot. When this attack hits, you draw a card on Vanguard, so a good Vanguard ride target at that. And when your opponent's rearguard is retired during your turn, you retire this unit to draw a card. So just like air mode, just with the draw benefits, which definitely does come in handy when you retire during your turn. So just remember, it won't work with the G-Guards when you use this skill, but you'll still have that option during your turn with your own retire effects. And just for a little more added stride power early game as well, I run 2 Doombringer High Flame. When this unit is placed on rear, choose up to 2 cards with Overlord and their card name from your drop zone, return them to your deck, and if you return 1 or more cards, shuffle your deck, and if you return 2 cards, draw a card. So along with recycling your Overlord cards in the drop zone, you have draw power at that, and on rear you can retire this unit at the beginning of your ride phase. You may pay the cost. If you do until end of turn, you may stride without paying the cost next time you stride a G unit with Overlord. So Progenitor Dragon for Dragon Empire definitely does help for the free strides, but this just helps early game if you don't want to waste your grade 3 stride cost, if you want it for rides later on as well for your plays. And that is it for the grade 1s. For the stars, I decided to go with Lizard Soldier Conroe just so I could search the proper grade 1s, depending on which one I may be needed for the specific play of all the different ones we run in the deck. So Conroe search definitely does come in handy there, especially. The only thing that made me consider Lizard Soldier Conroe was the fact that you just want to have that soul for Dragon Full Armor when you ride this card, which would be the only reason to run the other card for the soul build-up at that. And for the triggers, I sadly only have the one, but you definitely need to run it in the premium format. Dragon Dancer Takia. It's a GB1 when your Vanguard attacks. Put this unit into your soul, draw a card, and one of your Vanguards gets plus 10,000 power until the end of that battle. This card's pressure for GB, giving it the fact that it also has the standard format stats of 15k shield and 10 critical, makes it all the better for premium format for the fact that it has an effect, a modern effect at that, and gives your Vanguard that pressure as well. So definitely want to run 4 of this card when you have them for the deck. And then just for the additional triggers, I run 4 Rakshasa for the fact that you don't really need too many specific criticals for the deck for anything. So just the stronger shields and power to go at it for that. And also 4 Wyvern Guard Bari, the standard perfect guard for the deck also. And then for the heals, I decided to go for the 4 Dragon Dancer Tara. Aside from the fact that it's a 5k shield, when you G-Guard most of the time, you should hit the same shield numbers with your G-Guards that you run in the Dragonic Overlord deck as you would have with a normal heal trigger for standard, plus the fact that Tara has the counter charge and soul charge buildup that you can do with the deck with her own skill by having another copy of her in the drop zone. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. If you want to see any more premium deck profiles, just comment down below which ones you would like to see, and I'll definitely consider making them. But until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.